The purpose of this video is to describe how to use HeiferTracker, new in the Tracker series within PCDART. The purpose of HeiferTracker is to provide a tool to assess the replacement enterprise, specifically looking at young stock from birth till first calving, assessing reproductive performance, the speed at which breeders are getting semen into heifers and getting them pregnant, inventory counts, and survival and culling analysis of the young stock enterprise. Similar to the other trackers, HeiferTracker is available from the Analysis menu on PCDART. Simply choose Analysis and select HeiferTracker. And the window that appears is similar to that of Activity Tracker. The setup for all trackers is generally similar. Up at the top, a user has the option of choosing a setting name that can be saved for later use. For example, a user can set up HeiferTracker with particular items to look at for particular time frames or particular heifers, and those settings can be saved and recalled for later use. The first thing within HeiferTracker to decide or to set as an option are the date ranges with which data will be calculated from. As in Activity Tracker, the date range can either be constant, and if this constant button is selected, then a particular date range can be entered in. The default date range is for the last year relative to reference date. The other option is to choose a relative date. And again, similar to Activity Tracker, if relative to reference date is chosen, then this relative date range window becomes open, and various combinations of months, weeks, or days can be chosen to how far back the data will be constructed. Also, a relative to last test day button can be chosen, and then again that relative date range will pop up, except now the date will be relative to the last test day, or if we selected reference date, it would be relative to the last reference date. And then the user must enter a voluntary wait period in days of age for heifers. This would be the minimum age with which they're willing to get heifers pregnant or willing to breed heifers. The default value is 400 days, which would mean that on this dairy they are beginning to try to get heifers pregnant at about 400 days of age. Similar to Activity Tracker, on the left-hand side are a list of items that can be calculated in HeiferTracker. And to move the items from the tracker list, which tells us what is available, to the print list, which is what will show up in the table, there's several options. First is double-clicking on an individual entry. Second is to hold down or click with the mouse, hold down the Shift key to select consecutive items, and once that's done, the select button can be chosen, or holding down or selecting one item, holding the control button, and that allows you to select non-consecutive items, and again hit the select button to move them over. They can be removed one at a time by double clicking on them, or again selecting various ones, or hitting the remove all button. It'll remove them all back over. To view an entire table, just hit select all, and again that will move all items over. Okay. Now there's two types of tables to look at. A monthly table is going to simply display all the data items that we chose to, or computations we chose to look at, and breaking them out month by month for the date range represented. For example, let's say in this example we chose to go back the last 7 months relative to let's do test day relative to test day, and test day on this herd is January 31st of 2010, so the date range will be June 30th of 09 to January 31st, which is 7 months prior to test day. And if I leave monthly table selected, it is going to simply display the entire table broken out month by month. And I'll hit preview quickly to show that. Again, it will break them out month by month and just show totals for each month. The alternative is to choose summary table, and the list of items is a little bit different, but for a summary table, now if we left the date range the same, June 30th to January 31st, and hit preview, now there's only one column of data, and all this data is particular to that time period, June 30th to January 31st. So for example, the first item listed, age at first breeding, that is for all first breedings from June 30th to January 31st. So once the type of table is chosen and the tracker items are moved to the print list, the table can be previewed as we've just shown. And then there's a settings tab up top, and the settings tabs allows the user to type in a different title for the report. Choose to look at particular animals based on their current repro status. Can look at open animals, pregnant animals, or DNB animals. Can look at animals that are in certain user-defined fields, certain temp groups, certain group numbers, or certain permanent strings. And then for users, for dairies that have exported heifers, where a heifer grower is raising a portion or all of the animals, this allows the user to look at various combinations of exported and non-exported heifers within HeiferTracker. So all these items here on the settings page are simply filters that limit the number of heifers that will be included in HeiferTracker.